Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your fucking clout. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease.
What is going on, everyone? In this video, I'll be giving you my UFC San Diego main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday. Not much of a card, honestly, outside of maybe the main event and some other fights. I think Cachoeira and Lipski got moved to this one, so yeah, I mean, definitely not the best. Maybe like Bruno Silva versus Gerald, Meerschaert's pretty decent, but overall, not really too excited about this card. Definitely one of those fight nights that seems kind of just got thrown together just so we could have another fight night. But either way, to talk about the other event, UFC Vegas 59, 6-4. Thought I was gonna do a lot better early on in the night, and then obviously it just started to get a little bit worse. So 6-4, you know, obviously not the best, but you know, at least not disastrous. Obviously, Luke K not getting the victory, Jeff Neal getting the victory in that one. And you know, Jeff Neal, credit to him, like, he fought the way he should fight, and he definitely showed that if he fights like that, then he's going to be a problem. So, I mean, either way, great win by Neal. And definitely Luke came in, like, he's so hard to finish, so great win for Jeff Neal. Jamal Hill getting the victory against Santos, finishing him. And, you know, he showed that he can hang in there, right? He's not just one of these guys who's going to just look like shit after the first couple of rounds if he can't get the knockout. Muhammad Usman, pretty much, I would say he was kind of losing that fight against Paga, and then, you know, he did what he needed to do, land that big bomb, put him down. So great win by him. Brogan Walker defeating Juliana Miller. Juliana Miller defeating Brogan Walker. Great win by her. Walker just had really no answer for the striking and then the grappling, I guess you could say. So Sergey Spivak getting the victory against Augusto Sakai pretty dominantly, pretty beat him up pretty bad. So that was a good win. And yeah, so overall 6-4, not the best. Definitely not the worst. And then so we move on into the next card and let's talk about it. And I'm a little confused of like the lineup of this one, but we'll talk about it either way. So first fight on the main card, we've got Bruno Blindado Silva taking on Gerald GM3 Meerschaert. Silva 22-7, Meerschaert is 34-15. I think this is pretty much a fight for Silva to bounce back with, get the victory, and see what he can do here. Silva, great, you know, good pressure, big winging hooks. You know, he definitely has power, definitely has a chin, good leg kicks. Pretty wild, though. You know, he blitzes people in spurts, right? He gets a little bit wild. And then solid chin, can definitely eat some big shots, but I don't really think he has to worry about too much here outside of just like, ending up on the floor and getting submitted. So when you look at Bruno Silva's last fight against Alex Pereira, you know, he lost that fight via unanimous decision, but I would say he definitely looked pretty decently. You know, he got outstruck in that fight, but at the same time, he did get 2 takedowns, and he was able to, I say he held his own against Pereira, and you know, now Alex Pereira is fighting for the title, so not really too much of a bad loss there. And then before that, he came off 3 KO TKOs. So I think Bruno Silva's pretty tough bastard. He did get taken down 7 times against Andrew Sanchez, but I really just don't see Meerschaert like getting those takedowns on him. And overall, I think Silva's a pretty decent striker. Like I said, held his own against Pereira, walked him down, ate some pretty big shots, but he kept coming forward. For Meerschaert, he starts a little bit slow. His stand-up isn't necessarily the cleanest. He's a little patient, but he starts off a little bit too slow for my liking, especially against someone like Silva who's really going to walk him down, right? He's got a really good straight left. He's got a good 1-2. On the feet, I think Silva's probably going to be the better striker unless Meerschaert like lands the cleanest of shots and puts him down. Grappling, obviously, I think it has to go to Meerschaert. He's very dangerous. Even if he's losing, right, he can definitely tie you up on the floor, and it's not really a place you want to go, especially if you're gassed out a little bit or just end up in an awkward position. He'll definitely be able to throw some chokes on you. Meerschaert, slow starter, struggles with a faster striker. Probably is going to struggle against someone like Silva, who's going to get in his face and really like walk him down and can possibly defend some of the takedowns. So interested to see whether or not Meerschaert's able to take him down, and then see what Silva does. But I think overall, Silva's going to be pretty in his face early on, starting to land some big shots. And I think Meerschaert's going to crumble underneath that, because I think Silva will be able to hold his own, especially against the grappling. I don't really see Meerschaert taking him down at will or something like that. And then so Silva's going to try to hurt him, and I think he hurts him pretty badly on the feet in that first round and puts him down. So yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's too much to it. I think Silva has to win this one, unless he lets the fight go into like the third round and then Meerschaert's able to pull off like a submission here, maybe. But I think early on it's Silva's fight to lose. So I'm gonna go Bruno Silva to defeat Gerald Meerschaert. I'll take it a win by KO TKO in round number 1. Let me move on into a fight that was rescheduled to this card. Priscila, Zombie Girl, Cachoeira taking on Ariane, Queen of Violence, Lipski. 11-4 for Cachoeira, and then Lipski has a 14-7 record. So in this fight, I already kind of talked about, so I'm not really going to go into too much because I already predicted it last week. But I believe Cachoeira, she's definitely going to bring the violence, right? She's going to get in her face. It's not going to be the cleanest thing, and that's a little bit concerning. Especially against Lipski. If Lipski can fight a little bit smarter than her, I think there's some big openings. Obviously, Cachoeira is going to bring the aggression. We saw that in pretty much a lot of her fights. Even in her last fight against Jing Young Kim, she got outstruck, but she was able to get in there, get the takedown, and probably land the more damage. Like, she definitely hits hard and all that, so I wouldn't count her out. But against someone like Ariane Lipski, who is a pretty overall solid fighter, I don't think she's necessarily as exposed and like just pure aggression like Cachoeira, but I do think she's smart enough to probably pick her shots here, and maybe she can get a takedown. Maybe it's more of like a defensive kind of thing. Maybe the fight just stays standing. But I do think Lipski is going to be able to take advantage of those moments where Cachoeira is overextending and getting a little bit too wild, and then over the course of 3 rounds, I think she kind of jabs her to death, picks her apart on the feet, unless she gets broken, I guess you could say, right? I guess if Lipski doesn't come out here and gets just broken down, then maybe she gets finished. But I expect this fight to be a pretty good war. This will be a pretty good women's fight, because both fighters are really going to try to get in there and throw down. I just think Cachoeira is a little bit too crazy for my liking, and Lipski will be able to take advantage of that. But I think both fighters are pretty tough, so I don't really want to shit on either of them and say like they're gonna get finished or anything like that. So I'm gonna go Ariane Lipski to defeat Priscila Cachoeira. I'll take it a win by decision. And move on into the third fight on the main card, and we have Devin Brown Bear Clark taking on Azamat, the professional Murzakanov. 13-6 for Clark, 11-0 for Murzakanov. And so for this one, Devin Clark, he's a little sketchy, right? Early on, maybe he can get clipped in this one, especially early on in the fight. But I think as the fight goes on, if he can fight smart, hang in there, mix in the takedowns, I definitely think he can come away with the win. And he might even be able to come away with the finish here if he can utilize that wrestling into like the second or third round. If he fights smart, you gotta slow down. Don't get crazy with it. Clark obviously has some pretty good bombs, pretty good power. He'll throw like an occasional head kick just out there. He does have wild swinging, so again, like his stand-up isn't necessarily the cleanest, but he can definitely land some pretty big shots. I would say obviously he wants to get the fight to the ground. He wants to control you on the floor, and for having wrestling and mixing it in, his cardio is fairly decent. Again, not necessarily the best, can definitely be clipped, but I think in this one he's going to definitely try to go for that takedown. For Murzakanov, fast hands, good kicks. He's very light on his feet. He's got a looping left hook, very explosive. And like I said, early on, he's going to have a lot of that, right? So if Clark can survive early on, I think he can win this fight. But if anyone's going to win early, I think Murzakanov is probably going to be able to finish him early, or at least try to. Murzakanov, he definitely has a grappling background as well, wrestling. But I think it's going to be more so to defend against Clark than it is for him diving in for takedowns. His cardio is going to get a little bit tested here, especially if they get into grappling exchanges. So, like I said, I think we look for Devin Clark to hold him against the fence, try to get those takedowns work, just do anything but get clipped on the feet. And then over the course of that first and second round, he's tiring him out, and then maybe in that third round, he's able to put him away, get him on the floor, start landing that ground and pound, and then going from there. So for me, I've got to go Devin Clark. I think he has a little bit more experience. Like I said, he has to be very careful early on. But I'm interested in seeing if we get a calm, like kind of how he fought in his last fight. We get a little bit. I thought he fought smart against someone like William Knight, who definitely had power and all that. But he definitely did get. There were some scares in that fight, but I think Clark fought smart and was able to get that KO TKO round number 3. So I'm looking for another one here. So I'm gonna go Devin Clark to defeat Azamat Murzakanov. I'm taking a win by round 3 KO TKO. Move on into the next fight. We've got another women's fight, and we've got Yazmin Jauregui taking on Jasmin Lucindo. As you can see, the record says 0-0, but obviously both fighters have had fights before, just not inside of the UFC. This seems to be like a pretty good matchup. 8-0 for Jauregui, and then for Lucindo, she's got a 13-4 record. For Jauregui, stand up, a lot of bouncing around. Her movement's pretty solid, good leg kicks. Striking a little bit wild on the feet. She's pretty open to some shots too, I think, against someone who has a little bit better striking. I'm not sure Lucindo is going to be that fighter, but either way, she has pretty good power. Grappling, decent takedown defense, good cage work. She likes to throw those elbows against the cage if she's anywhere up against the cage in the clinch. Overall, I think she's an aggressive fighter, but she does leave herself open to some pretty big shots. And I think her takedown defense will be pretty solid. For Lucindo, she's more of a patient fighter. She's not rushing in. She'll sit back a little bit, try to set up some counters, good power. Again, I don't know if it's going to be like, the best power in the world, but her grappling, I think she's probably going to lean towards the grappling in this one, try to get those takedowns, get that body lock, and then when she's on the floor, obviously advance to mount. Try to get some ground and pound and put the fight away. So overall, Lucindo, Jasmin Lucindo, patient striker, good counters, solid grappling, and she's probably going to try to get it there. So for me, I think it just depends on whether or not Jauregui has the better takedown defense. I think on the feet, although she is wild, I don't know if Lucindo's going to be the one to take advantage of that and like counter and be lighting her up on the feet or anything like that. I think Jauregui's aggression is going to play to her power, and then especially if she's going to defend the takedowns, I feel like she's going to be a little bit too aggressive, and she'll be able to maybe get the finish. But like I said, if Lucindo mixes in some takedowns, maybe she makes it a little bit more difficult. So I like Jauregui on this one. I think she defends the takedowns and just lands the better shots on the feet. It was a little bit more aggressive. Maybe gets taken down a couple times, but nothing really happens. So I'm going to go Yazmin Jauregui to defeat Jasmin Lucindo. I'll take it to win by a decision. Move on into the co-main event of the evening. We have Nate the Train Landwehr, 15-4, taking on David Onama, 10-1. Both fighters are coming off of a win. This should be a pretty interesting fight. This fight, we might see a comeback or something like that. I can definitely see that happening. When you look at Landwehr, he is coming into this fight with a win over Ludovic Klein, and he won that fight via submission around number 3. And he's a gritty fighter, right? He's one of these guys who, even when he fought Darren Elkins, right, he beat him via unanimous decision. But he's kind of like Darren Elkins, where he's gonna get in there, try to be gritty. He's gonna eat some big shots to land his own shots. He's banking on that. He's just gonna survive longer than you. And when you get tired, he's like a dog fighter. Like, he's just making the fight really tough. Good body and leg kicks. He'll start brawling in close, and I wouldn't say like he has like the biggest power, but when shit starts getting wild, it's not a guy you really want to be brawling with. He defended most of the takedowns to it against Darren Elkins, and that was a lot of takedowns. He's pretty strong in the clinch. He can also, if he needs to, probably go for his own takedowns against someone that doesn't necessarily have the best takedown defense. And he just makes this fight a war, right? So he's going to probably try to do the same thing here. For David Onama, decent stand-up. He does have pretty big wing shots, big knees. He's going to have the reach advantage. So he likes to throw a jab out there, keep that distance, fight a little bit smart. He's going to have to fight a little bit smart about this one. But I would at the same time, like, he can't get into a warp Landwehr. So I would try to see maybe his best way to win is probably early on. Definitely not in the third round or even a decision maybe. Onama's grappling, pretty strong in the grappling. Will go for submissions. Definitely tries to advance his position. We saw that. We saw that in his last fight. He won against Garrett Armfield. Submission triangle. And then before that, he defeated Gabriel Benitez. KO in round number 1. And then he lost to Mason Jones. Now, he did get taken down by Mason Jones 8 times. So we'll really have to see in this one who has the better grappling. But I don't know. I think Onama is definitely... I think early on, Onama will be able to hit Landwehr, and Landwehr won't be looking too decent if he's getting hit like that. I think obviously in the third round, if Onama's tired because he's dropping bombs on this guy and Landwehr's just brawling with him, then yeah, I think I can see Landwehr either get a late finish or win it via decision if he starts to pull away in the fight. But I think Onama, if Landwehr leaves himself exposed to some of these shots that Onama's going to throw on him, like, I don't really think it's going to be good for him, and I think Onama can put him away. So as long as Onama doesn't get into that game and get wild, getting hit, and I don't obviously think that's the best scenario for him to win the fight. But if he does fight his style early on, take advantage of the openings, and actually try to finish Landwehr, I think he can get him out of there. So I'm going to go David Onama to defeat Nate Landwehr. But I do think Landwehr can pull off an upset in this fight. So I'll go David Onama to defeat Nate Landwehr by KO in round number 2. And then we move on into the main event of the evening, and we have a pretty solid bantamweight fight between Marlon Chito Vera and Dominick the Dominator Cruz. 19-7-1 for Vera, 24-3 for Cruz. This is a really solid fight. I think it's going to be pretty technical. We'll really get to see how Cruz is going to fare against someone that's a lot better. Because when you look at Dominick Cruz, he's coming off the win over Pedro Munoz. He did get dropped in that fight, but then he kind of slowly took over that fight down the in the latter rounds and was able to kind of piece him up. And Munoz really wasn't able to close that volume gap. But Munoz just goes for those big shots. He goes for the heavy leg kicks, but he's not one to, I think, mix it up a lot, right? He's just throwing wild hooks, and he's able to do it. He has good cardio, but against someone like Cruz, who's definitely going to try to dance around you, and had a sort of decent chin, basically got dropped twice in that fight and was able to come back. So, and then before that, he defeated Casey Kenny, got 2 takedowns in that fight. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think Dominick Cruz, well, we know what we're going to get from him. Constant movement, footwork, speed, obviously good speed. I would say he's not really known for his power. He definitely has power, but he's not knocking guys out with one shot. He's more of a volume fighter. Good cardio. Good wrestling, ducks under a lot of the big shots and goes for those takedowns. See, the thing here, though, is he's going to have to watch out about getting kneed in the head if he does go in for a takedown, especially if he doesn't set it up too well. I could see that. He could get flatlined by Vera. Overall, Cruz is a very smart fighter, very tactical, decent chin, but I think he's going to need to control Vera on the floor, if anything. I really don't see him, even though he has good volume and all that, I just don't see him, like, being able to dance around with Vera long term, especially in a 5-round fight, and like not get clipped at some point in that and kind of get destroyed. So I think he's gonna have to mix in takedowns. He's gonna have to control them. Yeah, I just don't see Cruz being able to like outstrike Vera for 5 rounds without getting clipped. I just don't see that happening. So yeah, overall, Vera, he stays in the fight. He gets in your face. He gets better as the fight goes on too. We kind of saw that against Rob Font. And man, he beat Rob Font, and he didn't beat, but he basically hung in there against Jose Aldo, which is not an easy feat to do. But even more so, I think, against Rob Font, where he gets 3 knockdowns against Rob Font, basically breaks him down over the course of the 5 rounds, gets better in the latter rounds, and then really starts teeing off on him. He flatlined Frankie Edgar before that, but a lot of people flatlined Frankie Edgar, so don't really look into that too much. Against Davey Grant, and Grant's a very good fighter as well, so that was an impressive win. And yeah, so for me, Marlon Vera, you know, with the insane cardio, heavy kicks, just getting in the face of Cruz, walking him down. I think he's gonna try to shut that down, and it's only gonna take a couple punches. It's only gonna take a couple leg kicks to shut down that speed of Cruz of jumping around. Especially if Vera is able to land some of these leg kicks, I can see Cruz starting to slow down and just not really having success with that. Fun fact too, Dominick Cruz commentated Vera's last fight against Rob Font, so he's definitely aware of him. He's definitely aware of his style. He commentated his fight, so looking forward to this one. But I do think Vera, I just think Cruz has to do a lot and not make any mistakes to defeat Marlon Vera, whereas Marlon Vera, he doesn't necessarily, he can get away with a little bit more, and then like 4th, 5th round, he's teeing off on him, killing him, right? Because Cruz could be winning, right? He could be winning, landing the better volume, and then Vera just clips him, and it's all over. Or Cruz goes in for a takedown, knee in the head, it's over. Even if Cruz gets a takedown, Vera goes for a submission. So I could see Vera hanging in there, even if he is in a bad position or something. And I just don't, obviously, I don't see Cruz like flatlining Vera. I don't really see that happening either. So I think Vera is gonna walk him down, get in his face, beat him up, take out his legs, and you know, whether or not this goes all 5 rounds or whatnot, we'll have to see. But I mean, I think if he beat the shit out of Rob Font, man, and I just don't think Cruz would beat up Rob Font, or maybe he would be, and then he'd get clipped and it's all over, and Vera's just finishing him, just like I feel like Rob Font would destroy Dominick Cruz. So yeah. Unless we see classic Cruz where he's dancing around, piecing him up for 5 rounds, taking him down, controlling him, beating him up, and then he gets like a unanimous decision. I mean, maybe we see that kind of Cruz. I just don't think that's going to happen here. So I'm going to go Marlon Vera. Let's see. I'll take him to get the finish in round 4. I think maybe Dominick Cruz hangs in there for a little bit, but eventually gets put away. So I'll go Marlon Vera to defeat Dominick Cruz by KO TKO in round number 4. And so that'll do, guys, for my UFC San Diego main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place August 13th, this Saturday. I was about to say looking forward to it, but I'm looking forward to that main event. That's really what I'm looking forward to. And then after that, we get UFC 278, Usman versus Edwards 2. So back into the pay-per-view bangers, hopefully. Really solid main card on that one, as long as none of the fights fall through. But either way, and I think it's like $50 to get a little discount. But either way, thank you guys for watching. Leave your comments down below. Tell me who you think is going to win this fight. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to. And you know what? I'll see you guys in the next video.